Story time about how my boyfriend's best friend tried to ruin our relationship. So a little background information. My boyfriend used to be best friends with this one girl. We're gonna call her Jamie. Well, Jamie and my boyfriend were best friends for years, and the friendship was more flirty than anything. Well, him and I got to know each other during track season, so we were always hanging out after school, and sometimes Jamie would be there too. Well, the one night him and I were on FaceTime and we were talking about how we really liked each other. So the next day we started dating, and I was good friends with Jamie too. Then after we started dating, she started acting really weird towards me. Like, I would try to say hi whenever I saw her in the hallways, and she would just give me a dirty ass look. So then I told my boyfriend how I thought that she was really mad at me, and he said that he would talk to her. Well, a week before him and I started dating, she told us that there was this guy that she really wanted to ask to prom, and she said that she liked him for a while. Well, then my boyfriend said, apparently a few days ago you were hitting on the boy that she was going to ask to prom. So then I started to connect the dots, and I was like, oh shit, like for part 2.
My wedding was on September 21st, 2019. My cousin from my stepdad's side brought her boyfriend that she'd been seeing for about 6 months, and I've only seen him once before my wedding. We're all having a great time, and the next thing I know, my cousin's boyfriend asks the DJ for the mic and goes to the center of the dance floor saying he has a special announcement to make and calls my cousin over. So I rush over and say, nope, no one is getting engaged during my special day, especially during my reception. You can get engaged later tonight, but not right now. It's my day. Thank you for understanding. And I go to walk away. My aunt, which is my cousin's mom, starts yelling at me and calling me an entitled brat. It causes a huge fight and they all end up leaving. My stepdad's mom says I was wrong and told me to apologize and call them over and allow him to propose. Needless to say, it didn't happen. Flash forward to Christmas. It was terrible. My stepdad's entire side was there and they were rude and ignoring my husband and I the entire time. And of course, my newly engaged cousin announces her wedding date, which is September 21st, 2020. I'm beyond pissed and not planning to go. It's my 1-year wedding anniversary. My cousin says they chose to get married on their 1-year engagement anniversary, but I don't.
A little girl made me cry last night. So the coffee shop that I work at also has ice cream. And so this lady had brought in her granddaughter to get ice cream. This little girl's probably about 4 or 5 years old. And she asked for ice cream with sprinkles. And so I absolutely loaded it with sprinkles because she's a kid and I have a heart. And the entire time this girl's eating her ice cream, she just keeps glancing at me. And right before they're about to leave, the grandmother brings her up and says, okay, tell her what you wanted to tell her. The little girl looks up at me and goes, I think you're a princess. And the grandmother goes, tell her why you think that. And the little girl looks up at me and goes, because you remind me of sunshine.
To anyone who gets a period, this video is for us. When I was in middle school, I really appreciated this teacher who would let the girls go to the bathroom whenever we wanted. And the guys would complain that they had to wait 20 minutes at least after lunch so that they could use the restroom. And the teacher would always remind them, you guys are boys and these are young ladies and they don't always have to just relieve themselves in the restroom. And I didn't even realize that that was just basic human decency for people who have periods. Until I got to high school. When I was a junior in high school, I was sitting in class and I felt like I was bleeding. And so I told my teacher that I had to use the restroom. And he told me I couldn't go because it was the first 15 minutes of class. And I told him, it's an emergency. I really have to use the restroom. And he said, you should have thought about that at lunch. And because I'm not going to sit here and bleed through my pants, I was like, I'm menstruating really loud in front of the whole class. And he was shocked and so uncomfortable. He started doing that thing where he tries to laugh like, in all my 20 years of teaching, no one has ever told me that. And I just sat there and wondered how many girls before me had to sit in their own blood.
Am I the asshole for calling out my kid's future stepmom for treating me like a surrogate? I, 29 female, dated a guy, Joe, 30 male, for 3 months before he left me to go back to his ex, Kim. Right after we broke up, I found out I was pregnant. I let him know and he was ecstatic. Turns out his girlfriend had fertility issues and would likely never be able to get pregnant naturally, and he has always wanted to be a father. Joe was only allowed at the initial appointment because of COVID, and we found out I was having twins. According to Joe, when he told Kim, she had a mental breakdown about infertility and wanted to talk to me. I met them at their house, and Kim stated that she wanted to be involved in my pregnancy because she would eventually be the children's stepmother. She started telling me that I needed to do a home birth, that I needed to do formula feed so that they could have the babies half of the week, that she wanted one boy and one girl, and that she wanted the kid to call her mama.
Oh my god.
Story time about the best thing I saw as a hotel concierge. I've been working as a front desk agent for about a week. I'm working on a slow afternoon and it's about 7 p.m. when this lady named Libby comes in. She tells me she wants to reserve a room, but only for a couple hours. I let her know that she has to reserve it for a full night due to a hotel policy. She agrees and hands me her credit card. This is where things get weird. As soon as I ask her for her ID to make the reservation, Libby says that she doesn't want her name on the reservation and to use the name of the man joining her later instead. I told her if she's using the room, then I need to put her on the accompanying list, but that only employees would see this. At this point, I'm thinking she's here for a one-night stand and doesn't want the guy knowing her information because she's probably married or something. This theory is further solidified when Libby asked me to make a note in the reservation that if we need to address her by name, then to use a different one that she gives me. She even goes as far as to show me the picture of the guy who will be joining her, takes the key, and goes on her way. About an hour later, mystery dude Jake walks in and gets the other key. Not even 30 minutes after Jake goes up, Libby comes back down and hands me both keys. She says thank you and walks off. This is when things get interesting.
This is the reason why girls lie about having a boyfriend when guys try to talk to them. Last week, there was a woman in Harlem, New York, and she was brutally attacked by a man after turning him down. This 31-year-old mother went to go buy a bottle of wine after work. Two men walked in the store and one of them offered to pay, and she politely declined and said no thank you and that she could pay for it for herself. When she got ready to walk out, the men basically said that she thinks she's better than them. The men followed her out and threatened that what was she going to do about it. So she tried to ignore them and go about her day. Then they chased her across the street, kicking her, and one of the men tried to bite her eye out, but ended up biting her forehead, leaving a deep wound. She was screaming and she just wanted to get her daughter.
This is why you should always listen to your gut. When I was 13, my family and I were headed home from night church service. It was my mom, me, and my two siblings. The road we were driving on was in the country and it was late at night, so there were no lights and no one else on the road. As we were coming up on our turn, a car suddenly comes swerving from our turning spot. They were turning so fast that they came into our lane and almost crashed into us. My mom quickly swerved as they tried to get back into their lane. Unfortunately, they overcorrected and flipped their car, landing on the driver's side door in a ditch. My mom hit her brakes and jumps out the car to go help the other driver. She gets about 3 steps away from our car, but then stops dead in her tracks. My siblings and I were watching her from the back window and wondering why she wasn't going to help the person. That's when he starts yelling for help and my mom starts to move to help him, but for some reason she stops again in the center of the road. Another car flies behind us and the guy doesn't hesitate to jump out and go help. The man pries open the passenger door so the guy trapped inside can get out. As the man crawls out, he instantly gets into a frog-like crouching position on top of the car. He has this insane look on his face and launches himself off of the car, hitting the guy who helped him. Then he turns his gaze in our direction and starts sprinting towards us.